Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the TV6 Digital Desk live stream. My name is Molly Birch, and I'll be taking you through a recap of today's headlines. This stream runs every night starting at 8/7 Central Time from Sunday to Thursday. Feel free to comment and ask any questions you have in the chat as you feel like it, and I'll do my best to answer those questions as we go and after the stream as well. With all of that business out of the way, let's take a look at our first story for tonight. The League of Women Voters of the Copper Country gathered at Michigan Tech's campus today to advocate for equal pay. Today is Equal Pay Day, which the League says falls on the first day of the new year when women make what men made at the end of last year. The League says the gap has closed to a 16% difference, but it's higher for women of color. The League set up a booth on campus handing out flyers with gender pay gap information.
Some people will say it's not really a problem because women choose jobs that pay less than men, but we show that even when you're very careful to match up apples with apples, people with the same careers and the same level of credentials, there is still a gap.
The League encourages both men and women to join the organization to learn more. There could be changes to the next time you renew your registration. A new proposal would make every Michigan driver pay for a state park pass unless they opt out. The state says this would generate millions in revenue. The Michigan DNR says state parks got $250 million from the American Rescue Plan in 2022, but it still needs $300 million for more projects. Representative Greg Markkanen says he isn't sold on the proposal yet.
I think this is a good approach, but people need to know what they're doing, what they're paying for, and where is it going to go.
They're working on a modification of their original proposal, and what we anticipate is that you simply uncheck the box if you don't want to have the recreation passport.
Representative Brixey, the chair of the Appropriations Subcommittee on Agriculture and Natural Resources, says the DNR has heard the concerns and are currently making tweaks to the bill. And the Michigan Department of Natural Resources says deer are moving around more due to the early spring. Michigan DNR wildlife biologist Brian Roll says for the past few weeks, the deer population has started to break out of their wintering areas if they went there at all. The DNR says this early movement could be dangerous for drivers. A wildlife biologist says south-facing roads are most likely to attract deer.
They green up first, so it attracts those deer to them, and there's usually grasses and clovers and different things like that that are going to be sprouting along the roadsides. And so it actually attracts the deer to the road. So the main thing is to be vigilant, early morning or early evening is, when they're going to be moving the most.
The DNR recommends using your high beams whenever possible to better spot deer on the roads. And happening now, businesses and events in Upper Michigan face economic impacts from a lack of snow this winter. But a warm winter also affects soil and agriculture. TV6's Ben Kuchner-Kavich talked with researchers from the UP and beyond about the trends in our winters. These researchers keep track of things like snowpack, ice cover, and soil trends, and they tell Ben they've been seeing big changes in recent years.
We've all noticed the warmth and lack of snow this winter. Maybe you've enjoyed not having to layer up as much, or maybe you're disappointed to miss out on skiing and snowmobiling. Whether you enjoy the unusual winter or not, researchers are looking into why this is happening. Just below the Mackinac Bridge, the University of Michigan has a biological station in Pellston. Researchers have records of snow depth here since 1974. Station Director Ame Klassen says she's seen a trend toward less snow, more rain, and more freezing and thawing in winter. She says this can have a big impact on soil.
As those snowpacks change, if you get no snow or less snow, those soils can freeze and the organisms that are in them don't do anything. Or you could think about how rain comes into an ecosystem, and if those organisms are being really active, that rain can move those nutrients and sediments out of those ecosystems and into streams.
From streams to the Big Lake, you also might have noticed the lack of ice on Lake Superior. At Michigan Tech University, scientists at the Great Lakes Research Center collect water samples in the Keweenaw Waterway. Most sampling in the Great Lakes region takes place between May and October. So tech researchers help fill in gaps in winter to help understand conditions where we live. Trista Vic Majors is the lead investigator for a Michigan Sea Grant-funded project to look at changing winters. While there was ice to sift through on this late February day, if you've taken a trip to the water, you know that hasn't been the case all winter. Vic Majors says ice cover is highly variable, but has recently trended lower in the Great Lakes, both in terms of how much the lakes are covered and how long ice lasts.
Having less ice cover changes things that are really fundamental to the ecosystem, like how much light enters the lakes, and how much nutrient availability there might be in the spring, what water temperatures look like in the spring, so we might have warmer water temperatures because we have less ice.
Vic Majors says there's record low ice cover this year, around 25 to 30% below normal, meaning less opportunities for you to do things like ice fish. At the MSU Upper Peninsula Research and Extension Center in Chatham, researchers collect data for the National Weather Service. The center's director, James DeDecker, says this season's snowfall is the lowest total the weather station ever observed, about 100 inches below the 25-year average. He says long-term trends he sees could impact agriculture. On average, DeDecker says the frost-free growing season is trending 10 days to 2 weeks longer, which has its pros and cons.
It may expand the types of crops that we can produce, or allow us to produce longer maturing varieties or achieve higher yields, and that's all a benefit. But on the flip side of that is the fact that we're seeing greater variability in our temperature and in our precipitation in particular.
DeDecker says a longer, warmer growing season is good, but it's hard to deal with if there's rapid warm-ups or cool-downs, extreme dry spells, or extreme precipitation events. MSU Extension Operations Supervisor Paul Naz says this winter's mild weather is good for livestock. When it's cold, cattle need more energy to maintain body temperature. When it's warmer, they don't need to eat as much feed.
Temperature drives growth on our summer crops, so I think it would be beneficial for the Upper Peninsula as the temperature rises to a degree.
All the researchers Ben talked to told him they think the combination of El Nino and climate change have led to our unprecedented winter in the UP. As El Nino starts to weaken, we'll see if next winter feels more like what we're used to. And starting next fall, NMU basketball games will be played in Vandament Arena instead of the Barry Events Center. The university began renovating the arena as soon as last year's volleyball season ended. Now the space is completely stripped and crews are starting to put pieces back in. Fans can expect to see more seats, a bigger court, and a modernized look. NMU says the renovated space will also bring fans much closer to the action.
I think the best thing about this new setup will be the fans will be right there on the edge of the game, really involved. You know, we're really looking at how can we have that home court advantage, and this remodel will provide that for us.
NMU expects the project to be finished before the volleyball season starts in August. And UPAWS says it's bringing back its biggest fundraising event for our final story tonight. The 2024 UPAWS Cause for Paws Party for Pets is returning for the first time since 2019. The night will feature 50-50 drawings, party games, and refreshments. They will also honor recipients of the 2024 Community Awards. The Cause for Paws co-chair says money earned goes to the daily operating costs of the shelter.
It goes for the daily operating expenses, taking care of the animals, paying our heat, paying our staff wages, medicine, emergency vet care. So it really covers all of the day-to-day operational costs.
Cause for Paws is Saturday from 6 to 10 in the evening at the Holiday Inn in Marquette. To learn more, go to uppermichigansource.com or the TV6 and Fox UP mobile news app. And that's all the stories we have for you tonight. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night where I'll be here in the same place at the same time. That's 8/7 Central Time with a recap of tomorrow's headlines. Don't forget you can find us streaming on Facebook or YouTube, whichever platform you'd prefer. And if you have a story idea you think we should report on, feel free to contact us at any time. These are a few easy ways to get a hold of both myself and others in the newsroom. And again, you can contact us at any time. We would love to hear from you and what's happening in your community. Thank you all again for joining me live at the TV6 Digital Desk. Have a great rest of your night.